And then you get a Fox News reporter going, look, I was there. I was with the city officials. I was with the power company and the Port Authority. And yes, Silverstein called the insurance company and wanted to demolish it. But we decided not to. But then it just magically fell, and they magically put a internal press release out that the building had already fallen because they had their coordination off an hour before it falls. I mean, we just absolutely open and shut. This is like catching a serial killer in the act of chopping up a little girl, and you go dig in their backyard and find 20 bodies. And then you find videotapes of them dismembering people. I mean, it's absolutely open and shut. And what does it say about the FBI? What does it say about the Defense Department? What does it say about the NYPD? What does it say about all of these people and how cowardly the average American is that these cops and firemen would know they blew up Building 7, and the majority of them have kept their mouths shut about it, knowing it killed their colleagues in Tower 1 and 2. I mean, how mega evil is this? How much worse can it get? What are we expected to accept next? And so when we wrote this big article for infowars.com and prisonplanet.com in the early morning hours, I couldn't sleep after I read this. I've been fully up since 2:30 in the morning. And I saw this, I guess, at about 10 at night. Fox News, because it literally caused flashbacks and an epiphany of further understanding that this is the system we live under. This is the New World Order control grid, that they can steal our pension funds. They can steal $28 trillion in the last year and a half. They can lie about WMDs. They can launch new wars. They can lie about the Gulf of Tonkin. They can do whatever they want, because the public will not face up to evil. They are just ready to buy into any asinine fraud. And again, just covering Building 7, which is the biggest smoking gun, is only one of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of points that all prove this thing was a complete inside job. From government documents where they were calling for staging attacks to blame it on foreign enemies, where they did it in many cases declassified, the hijackers trained at U.S. military bases. The list goes on and on and on. There are just countless examples of this, how the entire story is a fraud. But what got me so upset was seeing another big, high-powered reporter just wade into the PSYOP and just take part in this. It's thoroughly disgusting. This is Jeffrey Scott Shapiro. Shame on Jesse Ventura. The former Minnesota governor has discredited himself and dishonored and defamed his country. Our country's run by offshore banks. See, always the terrorist, always the bankers. They always invoke, oh, you're not patriotic. The former Minnesota governor has discredited himself and dishonored and defamed his country by promoting the mistaken view that our government was involved in September 11th attacks. Jesse Ventura should be ashamed of himself and embarrassed. No, we should be proud of his courage. The former Minnesota governor recently lent his political credentials to the discredited 9/11 truther movement by aligning and by alleging that the September 11th attacks were either planned or permitted by the United States government. During a March 10th interview with Barbara Walters on The View, Ventura implied that Bush-Cheney administration used 9/11 as a pretext to start the Iraq war under false pretenses. Well, we know they used it for that. We have the memos of Rumsfeld 5 minutes after saying, go major, go massive, say Iraq did it. I mean, Ventura apparently developed the theory after former Kennedy Johnson advisor Robert McNamara visited him at Harvard and allegedly admitted to him that the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which escalated the Vietnam War, never really happened. That's been declassified for 4 years. Ventura was at Harvard 4.5 years ago when this got declassified, so McNamara admitted it. It isn't Ventura alleges that McNamara admitted this. It was declassified at that time when Ventura was a professor at Harvard, a visiting professor, a visiting scholar. See how they work? See, I mean, just everything's a lie. Oh, Ventura claims the Gulf of Tonkin was staged. No, Ventura doesn't claim that. What next are you going to say? That's a lie? Well, you did, basically. Perhaps what Ventura is missing is there is probably more incontrovertible evidence and more witnesses who have already established what happened on September 11th than most major historical events. Oh, so he says we have the majority of paid-off media that agrees with us. To dispute the conventional historical account is intellectually dishonest and nonsensical. So he's saying Ventura's dishonest. This guy just implied Gulf of Tonkin wasn't staged. We'll be right back. We don't need any thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom.
We don't need no thought control.
So Jeffrey Scott Shapiro continues. Then I'm going to get into all the evidence. The most important info is coming up. He says that you cannot dispute the historical account. It is intellectually dishonest and nonsensical. And then his proof that it's dishonest is to confirm what we saw on television and heard on the radio and what the police were told. We're not saying the police were involved. They were told, oh, we're going to blow it up. We're going to blow up Building 7. And then they deny they ever said this when it's on record. That's coming up. He says, I know this because I was working as a journalist for Garnet News at Ground Zero that day, and I remember very clearly what I saw and heard. And then what he saw and heard confirms what we're saying, but they turn it around. By the way, I've confirmed from the transcript that 2 days ago, Limbaugh basically covered and he's covered our PrisonPlanet.com articles before with credit. He didn't give credit, where we pointed out that they've killed the number 1 and 2 guys in Al-Qaeda 5 times each and never retracted the last time they supposedly killed them in Iraq. And Limbaugh just said, folks, the media is lying to you. Why are they saying they've killed certain leaders, in one case 14 times, and then never retract the last time they said they killed them? They do that to just practice the lie, just test the media, just train. It's kind of like Fox News said Monday, Osama bin Laden had a Facebook account. And then the next line said, or someone posing as him. And then they admitted it wasn't him. They knew it wasn't him. They usually say, oh, Osama admits he did 9/11. Look, it was in an email. Oh, look, there's an audio tape that it turns out it's fake. They do voice print. It's not him. They just lie. So here's this guy's evidence that we're making it up that they blew up Building 7. And his evidence is they had a big discussion in front of him about blowing it up. That's like saying, oh, you're discredited. No one saw men at the grassy knoll shooting at Kennedy. There were only 50 plus of them that said it. You got all the witnesses going, yeah, there were men right there. The motorcycle cop, everybody said, yeah, till they were told to shut up. And then, our proof is that we saw. I mean, he's basically saying, I saw the man at the grassy knoll shoot too. That disproves it. I mean, this is the equivalent. He says, although I arrived at Ground Zero shortly after the Twin Towers fell, I was in the danger zone created by Building 7. Oh, he was in danger. From the moment it collapsed in the afternoon, and the event is one of the key cornerstones of the 9/11 conspiracy theory. Governor Ventura and many 9/11 truthers allege that government explosives caused the afternoon collapse of Building 7. This is false. Oh, he just says so. I know this because I remember watching all 47 stories of Building 7 suddenly and silently crumble before my eyes. We've got all the police tapes, videos. You can hear. And in fact, I want Watson, he only put 2 videos of that up. I want to add, there's a bunch of audio tapes off the police radios and CBS radio and others where people were saying boom, boom. And I've interviewed the witnesses. They were like, boom, 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 boom. But these camera views are about 400 yards back, and you hear them. And then it's amazing. But he says it was silent. Building 7 silently fell. It was silent. He says this is false. I know this because I remember watching all 47 stories of Building 7 suddenly and silently crumble before my eyes. Talk about somebody who's delusional. Shortly before the building collapsed, several NYPD officers and Con Edison, that's the power company, workers told me that Larry Silverstein, the property developer of One World Financial Center, was on the phone with his insurance carrier to see if they could authorize the controlled demolition of the building since its foundation was already unstable and expected to fall. So there's the lie. No modern steel building fallen from fire. 3 do it that day. Building 7 not hit by an aircraft. So he just weaves disinfo in together here.